Good morning and good afternoon to all participants online. Thanks for being here and taking part in this World Food Forum session, masterclass session in partnership with UNIDO. Under the title, Tech Skills for Youth-Led Sustainable Water Management, we present to you today how the innovative and hands-on H2O Maghreb training program contributes to, on one side, improved water resource management, and on the other side, gender equity in Morocco. I'm Flora Endel, Outreach Associate at UNIDO, and I have the pleasure to moderate today's session. Let me start off with some webinar logistics. We have around 50 minutes for this session, and we have reserved plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. Therefore, if you have any question, I invite you to write them in the Q&A or in the chat tab. Moreover, I want to point out that this webinar is being recorded. Let me give you also a brief outline of the session. After the opening remarks, we will give you a brief presentation on the H2O Maghreb project, including its relevance and impact, and its potential for scale-up and replication. After that, we're going to share with you a video that we recorded last week. This video shows a trainer and a former trainee of the H2O Maghreb training program at the ONE, Morocco's National Water Office, the Office National de l'Électricité et de l'Eau. And this trainer and former trainee are going to exchange their experiences as female technicians in the water sector. And as I mentioned, at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. I would now like to introduce Virpi Stucki. Virpi is Chief of the Division for Rural Entrepreneurship, Job Creation and Human Security at UNIDO. She will kindly share with us her opening remarks for this session. Many thanks, Virpi, for joining, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Flora, and dear participants. I'm very pleased to join you today for this masterclass about H2O Maghreb project. First of all, I would like to thank our sister agency FAO for giving us the opportunity to organize the masterclass in your World Food Forum event. As we know, water is a key aspect for agriculture and food security. As Flora mentioned, I'm the chief of UNIDO's Division for Rural Entrepreneurship, Job Creation and Human Security. And in that division, we oversee a lot of UNIDO's skills development projects, especially when it comes to skills for vulnerable populations, such as women and youth. The H2O Maghreb is one of these projects. And I must say that it has become one of our flagship interventions since 2017 in skills development in water sector. And the project has some interesting features. For example, 75% of the graduates are female, which is very unusual in a field which is traditionally male-oriented. Because of this success and features of the project, we have been considering the replication of this model in Morocco, but also elsewhere in Africa and also beyond. It's also very interesting that the H2O Maghreb project addresses the three aspects of sustainability at the same time: economic, social, and environmental. What is also interesting in H2O Maghreb, it's the private sector involvement. And this, of course, brings innovation and local ownership for the projects. And in that sense, it very much falls under the mandate of UNIDO's inclusive and sustainable industrial development. You will be hearing a lot about the larger impact of the project during this masterclass, but we will also feature the women in Morocco's water sector. And you will be hearing more about the female Moroccan water technicians, not only on how they were involved in the project as students, but also on their experiences in becoming a water technician in Morocco's water sector. I would like to say thanks again for FAO, our sister agency, for giving us this opportunity, and I wish all the participants very fruitful and interesting masterclass and lively discussions. Thank you so much, and over to you, Flora.
Many thanks, Virpi, for these encouraging words. Now we turn to the presentation of the H2O Maghreb project, and for this, we would like to share a short video of the project with you that is summarizing the main project activities. After that, we can discuss about the project in more detail. So Davide, over to you. Thanks.
H2O Maghreb, training Africa's water professionals for the future. Water, once an abundant natural resource in Morocco, is becoming scarce due to droughts and overuse. Morocco, like many other countries in the region, has an increasing water demand, with at the same time depleting water resources. Nearly 30% of Moroccans remain without reliable access to drinking water. Only 20% of the country's collected wastewater is treated. So how is Morocco planning to tackle these challenges? H2O Maghreb was launched in 2017 as a training program to equip young Moroccans with the skills needed to improve the country's water management. Different training modalities give the trainees a holistic perspective on the skills needed to operate and maintain modern water facilities. Students learn how to master dangerous situations in wastewater treatment plants with innovative virtual reality tools. Hands-on training through cutting-edge environmental discovery system helps to understand complex relationships in water management. The H2O Maghreb curriculum is nationally accredited and instructed by internationally trained experts. H2O Maghreb is also focusing on boosting the employability of youth in the water sector, in particular women. More than 80% of the students in the first intake are female. Over 50% of the first intake of trainees got a job offer before graduation. Industries, agriculture, public entities, private water suppliers, autonomous water boards, water treatment companies are all looking for skilled workforce.
So this was an overview of the H2O Maghreb project. For the next 10 minutes, we are going to discuss about the project in more detail. For this, I'm inviting Maximilien Perotti, project coordinator of the H2O Maghreb project in Rabat, Morocco, to tell our audience more about the background and the foundation of the H2O Maghreb project. Thank you, Max, and I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Flora, and hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. Let me share the presentation with you now. So you should all see it. Yeah, good morning again. Thank you, Flora, for passing on the floor to me. As you just said, we received a pretty comprehensive overview of what the H2O Maghreb project is, and we would like just to share additional details with you about how the project was designed, created, and what he has achieved so far. I think the video provided a relatively accurate diagnostic about the situation of the water sector in Morocco. There's a number of constraints. The resources have become scarce, and in the meantime, the demand has increased for a number of reasons, including growing population, economic development, and many others. The situation has also evolved as Morocco has invested a lot in building new water infrastructure, which are necessary to address the country's water challenges. But this infrastructure requires additional skills and additional qualified people. While in the meantime, until very recently, and I would say until the project started, there were very few training opportunities for Moroccan youth, but also for Moroccan water specialists in the area of water skills for technicians. So the very first objective of the project was actually to develop a training program that would meet the needs of the sector. The project has followed an approach based on a partnership strategy, something we call public-private development partnership, which consists of building on the expertise, the experience, and resources of a variety of stakeholders, including actors from the private sector, from the public sector, and the development sector as well. And you can see on the screen a number of organizations, such as USAID, the US International Development Agency, UNIDO, from the UN system, as well as private sector companies, Festo, Didactic, Beyond Reality, and governments of Morocco organizations such as the Ministry of National Education and the ministry in charge of water resources management. So all these partners have agreed to share their knowledge, their expertise for one common objective, which is providing better quality public service. And in the case of this very specific project, it's the overall objective is to provide quality education to improve water resource management practices in the country. So this is the strategy or the approach that we have adopted since 2017. And it has translated in a number of activities. As I just said a minute ago, the main one was to actually develop a technical training program that was missing in the country. And that's what all the partners achieved or were able to do sometime in 2017, 2018. And this training program is essentially characterized by the fact that it is very much based on a modular approach. So it means that one can pick up the modules that he or she is interested in. And the reason why we decided to go that way is actually so that the training could meet the needs of both young people that are interested to work in the water sector, but also to meet the needs of water professionals, water specialists that already have a job in the water sector, but are interested in strengthening their skills. So modular approach, but also practical approach. What is often missing in vocational training or vocational education, I would say in Morocco, but I could also say generally speaking in Africa, is the practical knowledge or the capacity to actually learn the future job one person would do in the future. So this is fully part of the training, the exposure to actual work practices. And eventually, we also have the support of our partner ONE, which Flora referred to a bit earlier. And their trainers are extremely qualified, and they have trained people from, I would say, Morocco, but also Africa and beyond. And they have a specific expertise to transfer water skills to both young people, but also their fellow water specialists. Finally, internship has also been included in the training program so that students get exposed to what it's like to work in a proper work environments. water environments. Flora, I will pass on to you.
Thanks, Max. So as we previously mentioned, the H2O Maghreb training program uses innovative and hands-on tools for practical learning. The private sector partners that Max mentioned, Faster Didactic and Eon Reality, both contribute valuable didactic equipment to the project and the training program. One of these tools is the so-called environmental discovery system provided by Faster Didactic, and it's basically a reproduction of the water cycle in lab scale. So from drinking water to wastewater distribution, sanitation networks, and wastewater treatment, the whole water cycle is reconstructed in lab scale. And by engaging with this tool, students practically learn about the different steps in this cycle. Similarly, the private partner Eon Reality provided a didactic virtual reality tool that is used in the training program. With this tool, students train specific tasks in a wastewater treatment plant. So using the virtual reality goggles, they move in this virtual wastewater treatment plant, and they can practice tasks that are dangerous. For example, what to do when there's a flooding, or also they practice situations that are difficult to simulate. For example, what to do if there's a power failure. So by this, students get the practical experiences that traditional training has a harder time to offer. Now, I would like to say a few words about the H2O Maghreb's impact. So at the beginning of the project, 10 trainers of the National Water Office of ONE have been trained on the new curriculum and the didactic tools. And since then, these trainers have trained over 160 water professionals from Morocco and other African countries. And they have trained 4 batches of youth, so over 90 young Moroccans that have been trained so far. And as Virpi also said in the opening remarks, 75 of them have been are female. We also know from the endline surveys that there's a very high satisfaction of graduates for the training, and they also recommend it majorly to their peers. I also want to note that 75% of the graduates, especially from the first 2 batches pre-COVID, they found a job within 6 months of having completed the training. So they have been very successful at the job market. Finally, let me say a few words about the potential for scale-up and replication. We see the H2O Maghreb project at ONE in Morocco as a pilot project, and we have engaged in efforts to scale up and replicate the project within Morocco and outside of Morocco. Within Morocco, we have engaged with several training institutions who either will offer the H2O Maghreb training program or integrate it in their own training programs. And the H2O Maghreb project has been sharing training materials and technologies, as well as supported this process with offering and training of trainers. Regarding the replication, in other countries, we have also engaged with representatives from the water and education sectors in various African countries for replicating the H2O Maghreb project, adapted, of course, to the local context. So we hope that this presentation has given you some good insights on the project. As we said, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the tabs. And next, we will turn to our central part of this masterclass, which is an interview that we recorded last week of 2 Moroccan water technicians discussing about the H2O Maghreb training program and their experiences as as female technicians in Morocco's water sector. So I hand over to Davide for the video. Thanks.
Madame Sadia Lagrani, vous êtes titulaire d'un master spécialisé en génie et gestion de l'eau et de l'environnement et vous travaillez à l'ONE comme ingénieur études et travaux depuis 2002. Vous êtes notamment chargée du développement pédagogique des formations et vous êtes formatrice dans le domaine de l'assainissement. Sadia, c'est un plaisir de nous entretenir avec vous aujourd'hui à propos de vos diverses expériences professionnelles. Tout d'abord, quelles sont les raisons et les motivations qui vous ont amené à vouloir travailler dans le secteur de l'eau ?
Oui, l'altération de l'environnement, la raréfaction des ressources en eau ont poussé plusieurs acteurs au Maroc à protéger l'environnement, à conserver les ressources, à épurer les eaux usées. C'est dans ce contexte, après l'achèvement de ma formation académique, j'étais très motivée à contribuer à la protection de l'environnement en essayant d'intégrer le domaine d'assainissement à l'ONU.
Sadia, est-ce que vous pouvez nous parler de votre expérience en tant que formatrice intervenant sur la formation H2O Maghreb ? En particulier, quels sont les atouts de cette formation ? Qu'est-ce que votre participation à cette formation vous a apporté sur un plan à la fois personnel et professionnel ?
Oui, la formation H2O Maghreb est une formation professionnelle de haut niveau. Les jeunes formés bénéficieront ou acquériront un ensemble de compétences et de savoir-faire spécifiques dans le domaine. J'avais l'honneur de contribuer à la conception du programme de la formation. J'étais très fière de faire partie d'être parmi les formateurs qui ont assuré la formation. Former des jeunes qui n'ont pas une expérience professionnelle dans le domaine m'a poussé personnellement à développer beaucoup de techniques pour faciliter l'apprentissage. Aussi, la satisfaction et le témoignage de nos stagiaires de la qualité de la formation. Et d'une part, une motivation pour donner de notre mieux. Et d'autre part, aussi mettre en valeur nos compétences, nos expériences pour les partager au profit de nos stagiaires. Je suis très contente d'avoir des lauréates et lauréats excelser leur carrière. La plupart d'entre eux sont devenus maintenant nos collègues au sein de l'ONU.
Madame Yasmine Khateb, vous avez suivi la formation H2O Maghreb en 2020. Vous travaillez désormais chez Redal depuis janvier 2021. Pourriez-vous nous dire pourquoi vous avez choisi de poursuivre cette formation ? Qu'en avez-vous tiré à titre personnel et comment résumeriez-vous cette expérience de formation ?
Je suis une technicienne spécialisée en électromécanique. J'ai eu l'occasion d'étudier tout ce qui concerne les stations de pompage. Alors j'ai décidé à m'inscrire à la formation H2O Maghreb parce qu'elle regroupe le volet théorique et pratique à la fois. La formation m'a beaucoup aidé à enrichir mes compétences dans divers modules tels que la maintenance, l'exploitation, l'eau potable et l'assainissement, ainsi que développer mes connaissances qui sont en liaison avec l'eau et l'assainissement. Cela m'a permis d'être polyvalente. En plus de ça, les formateurs qui m'ont formé sont hautement qualifiés et maîtrisent bien leur travail, ainsi que les nouvelles technologies des travaux pratiques qui nous approchent beaucoup à la réalité.
Yasmine, merci beaucoup d'avoir partagé votre point de vue sur la formation H2O Maghreb avec nous. Sadia, je reviens vers vous. Comment décririez-vous la situation des femmes dans le secteur de l'eau et de l'assainissement au Maroc ? Quelle est votre expérience professionnelle en tant que femme et technicienne travaillant dans ce secteur ?
D'une manière générale, le taux de participation des femmes dans le secteur de l'eau ne cesse que d'augmenter. On note que les femmes ont plus de courage à intégrer ce secteur et même exercer des métiers dédiés aux hommes. Ils ont donné preuve d'une grande compétence dans ce domaine. Personnellement, en tant que femme opérant dans le secteur de l'eau, je suis très fière de mon expérience. Je suis très motivée et en pleine activité de confronter tous les défis et développer mes compétences de plus en plus.
Et vous, Yasmine, quelle est votre expérience personnelle en tant que jeune femme et technicienne travaillant dans le secteur de l'eau ?
Et quelles seraient vos aspirations pour l'avenir?
Personnellement, je suis fière de la formation H2O Maghreb. D'une part, j'ai pu réussir mon entretien d'embauche au sein de Redal, la société qui est responsable de la distribution d'eau et d'électricité et l'exploitation de l'assainissement. D'autre part, j'ai pu intégrer le milieu de travail où j'ai mis en valeur les compétences acquises pendant la formation. Je me sens très motivée de mener ma carrière en tant que jeune femme et avoir des responsabilités dans le futur.
Ma prochaine question s'adresse à vous deux, Sadia et Yasmine. Auriez-vous des conseils particuliers à destination des jeunes, et en particulier des jeunes femmes, qui sont intéressées par une carrière dans le domaine de l'eau et de l'assainissement?
Bien sûr, j'invite les jeunes femmes qui sont intéressées car notre pays est face d'importants défis en matière de la gestion durable d'eau et d'assainissement. Donc nous avons besoin des ressources humaines qui sont qualifiées pour à mieux résoudre ce problème à travers des formations et des solutions innovantes dans le but de préserver l'eau et l'environnement.
Saïdia, même question à vous.
Le programme H2O Maghreb est un programme conçu selon les standards internationaux en concertation avec des opérateurs dans le secteur de l'eau. C'est un programme qui intègre les nouvelles techniques et technologies modernes pour faciliter l'apprentissage et la formation dans le domaine de l'eau. La formation H2O Maghreb, c'est une formation basée sur la pratique, une formation assurée par des formateurs spécialisés dans le domaine. J'invite tous les jeunes intéressés par une carrière dans le domaine de l'eau et de l'assainissement à intégrer ce domaine. C'est une opportunité pour eux d'intégrer un domaine dynamique, actif, en pleine évolution. Un domaine qui leur permettra de développer des compétences et des acquis professionnels remarquables.
Yasmine, en guise de conclusion, est-ce que vous souhaiteriez dire un mot à votre formatrice Sadia?
Bien sûr, je vous remercie, ma formatrice Madame Sadia, pour tous ses efforts et soutiens durant la formation H2O Maghreb. Merci.
Et vous, Sadia, est-ce que vous souhaiteriez également dire un mot à Yasmine?
À mon tour aussi, je remercie Yasmine pour sa pleine contribution lors de la formation H2O Maghreb et je lui souhaite une très belle carrière et une bonne continuation. Et je tiens à dire que je reste toujours à votre entière disposition.
Sadia et Yasmine, nous vous remercions infiniment pour votre disponibilité et pour toutes ces réponses inspirantes que vous nous avez apportées aujourd'hui.
So we hope you have enjoyed this video. Now it's time to hear from our audience for the Q&A session. We have a number of questions and I would like to address them to Max. So Max, first of all, what kind of context would be favorable for a replication of the H2O Maghreb project?
Well, thank you, Flora, and thank you for those who shared their questions with us. I would say, in a way, unfortunately, countries where that face water challenges would very much welcome the assistance of a H2O Maghreb-like project. That would be a first criteria, but I believe, again, unfortunately, many countries have similar issues as those that Morocco has been facing. What would be, I would say, also very relevant is to already have a training center that focuses on water, or at least covers the water sector, with existing trainers, so that when the project is able to be initiated, they would be already a facility and a conducive framework for the project to transfer technical assistance and for the beneficiary or the host training center to receive this assistance in a favorable context. So I would say a training center, water trainers, but also at the national level or at a more central level. It's I think prerequisites would also to have a national water strategy, identifying priorities and objectives. So I would say, yeah, these are the best or the elements that we would preferably find in beneficiary countries.
Thanks, Max. Very good. And there is another question more about maybe the Moroccan context. Can you say more specifically in which way employers valued H2O Maghreb graduates, vice versa their peers who graduated from other training institutions in Morocco?
Well, I mean, I have to go back to the history of water training or technical water training in Morocco, and that's stopped formally about 30 years ago for various reasons. And one can say that the current generation of water professionals, technicians, are extremely qualified, but they're about to retire within the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that what made a real difference for H2O trainees or H2O graduates is the fact that there has been a lack of training opportunities and a shortage of qualified workers for a while. So there's no equivalent to H2O Maghreb, but if we were to compare, H2O Maghreb graduates with young graduates from other training program, and that's again based on your question, this is what we've heard from companies and employers recruiting our trainees or our beneficiaries, is that again the H2O Maghreb project is characterized by this great I would say possibility to get practical knowledge. So it's because of the equipment, because of the contribution of the partner ONE that has provided full-fledged access to its own training facility and a actual wastewater treatment plant, which is located within the training center. It's this exposure to quality infrastructure and equipment, and the practical knowledge that is transferred through the training that I think makes a difference at the end of the day, and makes our trainees probably more qualified or more prepared to integrate the job market and eventually a company.
Many thanks, Max, for elaborating on that. A third question we have is regarding the design and the implementation. When designing and implementing the H2O Maghreb project and potential projects for replication, how do you increase sustainability of project outcomes?
I mean, there are different factors, but I would say one is partnership. We've worked, as I said, with international partners, national counterparts, and they've all contributed with their own expertise and resources to the success or the impact of this project. And I think that for the partnership to be sustainable, we need a great degree or great extent of local ownership. So what we've been trying to do is to make sure that our local partners or national partners have all the knowledge, the capacities, the resources to keep training young people beyond the project end dates. So this is what we've been trying to do, strengthening the capacities of our partners. And also one other factor or one other criterion has been to engage with other institutions, including in the academic sector, throughout the project implementation to make sure that they are aware of the H2O Maghreb training program and they can possibly replicated in a different school, in a different training center, maybe with different training modalities. So as you mentioned during the presentation, we have approached, or we've been working with other education institutions, and I mean, ultimately the result will be that the H2O Maghreb training program will not only be taught in Rabat, but also in other Moroccan regions. So this is clearly part of the sustainability strategy that we've been implementing.
Thanks, Max. In the meantime, we have a couple of more additional questions, and as we still have time, I suggest we address a couple of them. The first one is this project applied to the whole of Morocco or just in limited areas?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So for I mean, for practical reasons, we are using one location for training. So we train in Rabat at a training center, which is let's say which is part of our partner company ONE, or our Moroccan partner ONE. But we've been able to train people from across the country. So the facility, if I may say, is in Rabat, but the beneficiaries come from pretty much the entire kingdom, whether they are young people or water professionals. So I would say the outreach is national, even international in a way, but for practical reasons, and based on the investment that was made by the partners, it's not possible to train in different locations. One of the raison d'être of the project, or the added value of the project, is to have this training facility with modern equipment and so on, and that cannot be replicated easily in each and every region of the country.
Thanks, Max. We also have a question from Monira. She's asking what other African countries are trained for this program. So maybe we can also take this question in two ways. The training of professionals that have been coming to Rabat for training, and also for the replication maybe of the project in which African countries.
So the Moroccan Water Agency, again, which is a critical partner within H2O Maghreb, has built experience and expertise in training fellow African water agencies, or personnel from fellow African water agencies. And I would say, because Morocco is a rather French-speaking country, many people from French-speaking Western Africa, but also beyond, I mean, including people that come from rather English-speaking countries. So, I mean, I think quite recently, last year, from Guinea, and yeah, I mean, a certain group of people was able to be exposed to the H2O Maghreb approach, but due to COVID, travels have been discontinued, and we haven't been able to train more people in 2020 and 2021. But what we've been trying to do, on the contrary, is to approach or to engage with countries that have demonstrated an interest in the H2O Maghreb model, to check or to assess the feasibility of, in a way, transferring this project approach to their countries, for sharing some of the project knowledge or content with them. So I think that we're still in touch and still discussing with potential counterparts in Burkina Faso, in Uganda, in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, in Madagascar. We have received a lot of interest from those countries, even from some others. But yeah, I mean, the objective is by the end of the year, or by early 2022, is to have a concrete or maybe concrete cases for the replication of the training program, and it can take any form. We're absolutely flexible in this regard. What is interesting for us or relevant for us is to make sure that that content, which has proved useful in Morocco, is shared so that others can use it and benefit from it elsewhere. And I would say the main focus is on Africa and on MENA. And I've noticed that we have participants from Egypt, and if there is any interest, we have a regional office, UNIDO regional office in Cairo. We're happy to discuss with you whenever. I mean, it's fine for you. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to continue the discussion after this session.
Thanks, Max. We have one final question from Sodumo. There are a couple of questions that I think are partially now you already answered regarding the replication. Maybe just you can say a couple of words about how long it took for the project to be designed in Morocco, at what scale maybe it was piloted now. Yeah, let's keep it there. And then
Okay.
Thank you, Sodumo. We'll get back with more details.
I think it took about 2 years to build the project, because one has to understand that there's a diagnostic that first has to be conducted to understand what the needs are, what the challenges are, and how to best address these challenges. And then there is the sort of partnership component, because to best address these problems or these issues, we need to make sure that we will gather those institutions, companies, organizations that have the expertise and the resources needed. And it's a relatively lengthy process again, because it was all about finding the right partners and making sure that we would have adequate resources to support the Kingdom of Morocco in its attempts, I would say, to improve the way water resources are managed in the country. So it took a bit of time, but again, when it comes to replication, what's interesting is that we have a precedent, we have a previous project which is still ongoing in Morocco, and we can learn a lot from it. Some of the partners that have agreed to contribute to the Morocco project may be interested in joining another project in another country. And again, all this learning, it's not that we can take the Morocco training program and just transfer it or send it to another country, and it will be used exactly how it's been used in Morocco. But a good 70 or 80% for sure of the training program, it can be used as it is elsewhere. And that basis, together with the equipment, the didactic tools that we've developed, all this information and knowledge, I think that we could use in another country, and that's actually time saved when it comes to designing a new project somewhere else. So I believe we could support such an initiative, and we're eager to hear from countries, again, especially in Africa and in the MENA region, that are interested in building on the H2O Maghreb project.
Great. Thanks a lot, Max, for addressing all these questions. I think we're coming to the end of the session. So yeah, this has been a rich conversation about how the H2O Maghreb training program contributes to improving water resource management and gender equity in Morocco. Many thanks to all of our speakers live and on record. I would like to leave you with some key takeaways. First of all, the H2O Maghreb training program uses hands-on experiences and state-of-the-art technology to equip trainees with skills to enter the water sector with confidence. Secondly, being gender inclusive, the H2O Maghreb training program successfully contributes to the emergence of a new generation of water technicians in Morocco, where female technicians play a bigger and bigger role. And thirdly, the H2O Maghreb model of training is, as we heard, highly adaptable and has a strong potential for scale up and replication. Thank you everyone for joining online and attending and posing interesting questions. We're very grateful for your attention, and we hope that you have found this masterclass useful. For any additional information, please feel free to reach out to us. We will note the emails in the chat tab. And we thank you again. Have a good week ahead, and also enjoy the World Food Forum with other sessions and exhibitions online. Thank you very much and have a good day.